Hi. Yes. Hi, I'm Matt Shapo. I'm a director in the IAB Media Center. I think that the most important key trends that we're seeing today have to do with the incredible diversity of audience and content that podcasting presents to advertisers. You know, presentation after presentation has really drilled down into the ability to understand how diverse podcast listeners are, the ability to therefore align incredibly diverse marketing messages with that diverse group of audiences. And another thing that we're seeing that's a really important trend is the extent to which you can begin to understand podcasting as more than something that is just show-by-show based buying, right? I think that Acast and I think SiriusXM did a really good job of pointing out that you can look to podcasting to find incredible reach and scale across the mid and the long tail of shows that people have maybe not historically thought about podcasting in terms of. I think it's an important trend. What I've noticed as I've gone around the room today is that there's been a pretty good number of buyers who have been responsive to that message being presented from the stage. So I guess I won't name specific names, but I know that there are individual buyers out there who have come to me and said, you know what? I don't think I really did appreciate the extent to which maybe I can do a run of network buy and I can choose to do more than just my favorite 5 shows on that network. I can now sort of complement the direct buying I'm doing with more of a programmatic buy across their entire network. I can find the deeper audience that I want to find. So those are probably the 2 main themes that I would say I've seen so far today. So I talked about this a little bit from the stage in the keynote, so it's a little bit of a repeat here. But as we all know, podcasting has been on a really serious hot streak the last several years. Like I talked about on the stage, 280% growth over the 4 years coming into this year. One of the interesting things about podcast growth during this time is that you're starting to see that transition between people who maybe view it as only a show-based buying medium, people who maybe only view it as a performance marketing channel, into folks that are now understanding that you can buy at greater scale and find the audiences you want, and also think of it as more of an upper channel branding experience. We saw a step back in growth this year, but the fact that we still saw 5% growth in podcasting at a time when there's a very challenging macroeconomic environment, I think does demonstrate the extent to which buyers are finding the audiences and the reach that they want. One of the most important trends that we talked about in the report this year is the fact that there's an increasing diversification of content. So as we talked about, comedy and sports, the 2 biggest verticals in podcasting now. News remains a really big bright spot, which is fantastic. And I think when people think of podcasting, they often think about it in terms of, oh, I'm gonna go there and find something really juicy about politics or about what's going on in government. But you're starting to see more and more that people are looking to podcasting as a place where they can go to relax, find entertainment, find fun. That was another key takeaway from this year's report is that comedy and sports are really big. And then of course the other key takeaway is the fact that we're just continuing to see enormous diversification in terms of the advertising categories that people are investing in from the buy side within podcasting. So again, the other category, which is, verticals like pharmaceuticals, it's healthcare, it's energy, you're starting to see again at sort of the upper level brand storytelling kind of investment. People are coming much more into podcasting and they're finding a lot of success here. So this is one of my favorite topics, actually. I love the idea of talking about audiences in podcasting. Again, like we mentioned a minute ago, there has been a little bit of a history in podcasting of people in the buying community just sort of knowing certain big shows that everybody's heard about and like, okay, I know that show, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna buy there, and then they sort of get used to their favorite 5, 10, 100 shows. But what's great is that over the last couple of years, we're seeing this incredible richness of psychographic and behavioral demographic information get mined within podcasting for the buyers to go and find the audiences they want. So you can talk about something like Triton Demos Plus, right? You can talk about something like Nielsen Podcast, metrics. These are situations that allow people on a survey-based basis, so you can marry the survey data with the raw download data, and you can begin to create a profile of people which says that, oh, you know what, this slice of shows is going to give you, let's say, 18 to 34 young women. This slice of shows is going to resonate really well with African Americans. That slice of shows is perfect for the 25 to 54 demographic. That kind of audience targeting was not as prevalent even a year or two ago in podcasting, and you're starting to see that happen much more. There's many more tools in the space that are allowing buyers to activate in that fashion. Another one of my favorite topics, and so I know this is near and dear to you as well. One of the things I love about working at IAB is that I get to work with wonderful people like you. It sounds profitable. I get to work with wonderful people at all the incredible, publishers, whether SXM or iHeart, any of these folks, and we all talk together about what? The incredible personalities that podcasting brings to the table for buyers. We talk about the power of the podcast creator as the ultimate influencer, right, in the marketplace. And so as you ask me about podcasting in relation to the broader media landscape, I would say that podcasting is in some ways, in my mind, going to become the ultimate channel when you think of the creator economy writ large, right? So IAB is really a big place for conversation these days about the creator economy. Oftentimes, just by nature of the fact that the creator economy sort of grew up in YouTube world, oftentimes you hear the creator economy conversation talked about almost exclusively in reference to video creators. But what we're starting to realize is that podcasting, whether in audio or video form, is where these incredibly deep personal social, parasocial connections exist between podcast hosts and the listeners who love them. And so when I think about the future of media, when I think about the future of advertising, and when I think about that in the context of the creator economy, I think podcasting has a really rich and beautiful history and also future to come. So I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer the question for podcasters, but what I would say to podcasters is this. Again, the thing that's beautiful about podcasting as a medium is the incredible intimacy, the incredible authenticity of the connection between you as a podcast creator and the people who love your shows, right? And so my only piece of advice would be to keep it real, right? Be as authentic as you can, and to find content that is not only meaningful to you, but it is going to genuinely resonate with people who have the shared interests that you're trying to explore in your show. So just make sure that you keep it real. Make sure that you try and be of service as much as you possibly can to the people that you want to come and consume your show. It's kind of sort of like a generic statement, but I think that's what I would say. There's other people who are better qualified to answer that question than I for podcasters. So, and for advertisers, it's a similar story, right? And maybe in some respects, I'm beating the same drum. But like, if you are looking to influence somebody who may be interested in your product or service, there is no better place to do that than in podcasting, precisely because the podcasters themselves has such a deep emotional connection to and resonance with their listeners. So if you're not already in podcasting, you really ought to be, because the opportunities to align your brand story with the stories that these podcasters are telling are infinite.